Hey everybody, Michael Snyder here, National Weather Outlook edition, April 1st. Taking a look here at the infrared satellite imagery, you can see that cold system moving into the Pacific Northwest is eventually going to bring some snow towards the end of the weekend, again down through California. Not the huge amounts they have been getting here, but it will add a bit here. And then the potential for a warm up looms out in the extended. We'll take a look at that. You can see the storm system out here across the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes with some cold air behind it spawned numerous tornadoes across the region, kind of a regional tornado outbreak here. There is a threat for some severe weather along the East Coast here. We'll take a look at that in some detail as well, but kind of a nice visual representation of that cyclone here as it continues to track eastward. And then we've got the potential for some more severe weather here setting up across some of the central portions of the country next week. We'll take a look at that in some detail as well. Looking at this Tempest weather system here, I get so many questions about what weather station I should buy, so I just thought I'd go over this a little bit each day. This has everything you could possibly want on it. It's got UV index, solar radiation, it's got an ultrasonic anemometer, a haptic rain gauge. It can tell you exactly when it starts raining. It'll send you a notification on your smartphone. You can see the temperature easily. It stores all your data for you. It's got a lightning sensor. You don't add any batteries. It's all solar powered and it's totally wireless. So a great weather station, very affordable. Check out the description below if you want to buy one of those. So back to the weather here. You can see California, one more round of snowfall to go here, and it's going to remain cool for the next few days here, but then the potential for a warm up does exist for the state of California, which is potentially bad news. There's already flooding ongoing from the extreme amount of water across some of the higher terrain here, and we're going to get warm across the state of California. This is taking a look at that, a 2-meter temperature anomaly, and you can see the chillier than normal temperatures here as we go through midweek next week here, but then we start to change as we get towards the end of next week and towards next weekend. Look at some of these temperatures showing up here on the recent GFS run, folks. This is not good. This is well above average here, and this is going to start to try to rapidly melt this snowpack with some extreme snow water equivalent amounts across some of the higher terrain there. So there's going to be some pretty dynamic exacerbation to the flooding here across the state. So we'll watch that here over the next few days as well. This is that snow water equivalent across some of the Sierra Nevada here, just huge amounts. You can see a lot of totals up over 6 feet, 7, 8 feet water equivalents. If you melted down the snow in that area, you'd have 6, 7, 8 feet of water in a lot of locations. This is looking at the 8 to 14-day U.S. hazard outlook here. You can see this hatched area. This is for flooding. This is not because of precipitation falling. This is due to snow melting here with the potential for warming temperatures coming up. And you can see this threat across some of Wyoming and South Dakota there for below normal temperatures and some flooding here, most likely due to severe weather and storm systems that will roll through the area. This is looking at 500 millibars. This is the lower 48 states. We put this into motion here. You can see that severe weather threat for the East Coast today is that kind of a polar lobe here that spawned that system yesterday. But look what happens here. We get this cold air moving into the Pacific Northwest trough, establishing itself, giving California one more shot of snowfall here as we go through Sunday, Monday. But then as this trough starts to move out and eject out over the Rocky Mountains here, this is going to be the next severe weather maker here across central portions of the USA. More on that here in a moment. This is looking at the threat today. There is an enhanced risk across a lot of Pennsylvania, including some of New York as well across some of the areas of the southeast. General thunderstorm threat across Pacific Northwest, Florida, Texas there. You can see probabilistic tornado outlook here, 5% here for some of New Jersey area out there. So heads up, you could get a brief tornado out there, and maybe even more than a brief one actually in this area here. I wouldn't rule out, some tornado reports here showing up across the area as you go through the day today. This is hail, not too big of a threat here, just 5% areas here across some of the East Coast. Wind outlook there as well, kind of highlighted across New Jersey and Pennsylvania here. So looking at 500 millibars, this is that storm system yesterday as it churned across the area here, spawning numerous tornadoes, some particularly photogenic tornadoes across portions of Iowa yesterday, some strong ones down through Arkansas as well. This system impacting the East Coast as we speak. Trough develops over the Pacific Northwest, and this is going to be the next weather maker. This is going to bring some warm Gulf air out of the south here, some high dew points, some very cold air aloft. That's got the recipe here for another potential severe weather outbreak across portions of the country here as we go on into next Tuesday. Tuesday was the main time frame here. Now, looking at this is the system yesterday. This is 500 millibars up towards 18,000 feet. Again, here's a lower 48 states here. There's Alaska up there. There's Washington. Here's Florida. Put it into motion. That severe weather threat exists here today. And then the next trough carves out here and kind of taking its sweet time, allowing for some of this moisture return across some of the central plain areas there. And then these strong winds rip over the top. Big shear values, very moist, cold air aloft. So yeah, it's looking kind of dangerous out here again as we go through next Tuesday. Now, this is looking at 2-meter dew point here. And I wanted to kind of show you what's coming up here. This is the moist air moving off to the east here is going to help spawn those thunderstorms there. But taking a look at what's coming on Tuesday, you see as the trough digs out over here, it's going to allow for this moisture return. And you can see by Monday morning, it's already well under progress coming up through Kansas, Missouri here, starting to move northward, and you can see this really rich, deep moisture getting into place by Tuesday morning. And look at this dry line. This is what's known as the dry line. I mean, look, you're going from 65 dew points potentially down to the single digits, extremely dry to extremely moist, and that's the focus of where some of these storms can start to fire here as you go on into Tuesday. You'll notice it surges east during the day. And by the time you get to the afternoon hours, you're going to start firing off some storms in this area here in a very favorable environment for some severe weather here. And look at just how dry this air that drives across New Mexico into western Texas is here. There's going to be some fire danger involved with that as well. This is looking at surface-based CAPE. This is the GFS. If I put it into motion, you'll see that moisture return occurring Monday. Look at the instability getting in place by Tuesday morning all the way up through Missouri, potentially up through Iowa, extreme Oklahoma, extreme eastern Oklahoma and extreme eastern Texas, eastern Kansas maybe as well. And then as these storms fire off here, the potential for some strong tornadoes is probably going to exist again on Tuesday. This is looking at the GFS. Let's take a look at what that system would look like on the surface pressure map here. Here we go on to Tuesday morning there. You can see this low developing across Kansas there. It starts to lift northward, a 983 millibar low, quite strong, and it starts to fire some potentially dangerous storms across eastern Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and maybe some action up through places like Iowa and further off to the east there as well. So pretty dynamic system likely coming here through next week. So much so the SPC has this day 4 probability outlook here. And you can see that is about as high as it goes for a day 4, 30% for portions. You can see blanketed completely for Missouri, Illinois, Iowa, down through Arkansas there as well. So we'll see how that trends over the next few days. This is looking at the NAM 12 km here, kind of looking at the similar thing here as you can see this dry line feature here form as you go through the day Tuesday and surge off to the east a bit here. And then these storms are going to develop here in the warm sector out there with the very dry air back to the west. This is looking at those 10-meter wind speeds here. So imagine that very dry air with the strong winds rolling through here on Tuesday. And you can imagine all it takes for us, it would be a spark and some fuel out there to spawn some pretty nasty fires out there. This is pretty intense fire conditions there across West Texas, New Mexico. This is looking at the relative humidity here. I'm going to speed ahead to Tuesday as well. And you can see that dry line developing there with these very dry air moving across West Texas and New Mexico. So, yeah. Here we're looking at, let's do the monthly temperature outlook for March 31st here. This is for the month of April. You can see much of the west below average, including some of the northern plains here, southeast above average here as you go through the month of April. This was just put out there yesterday. This is the monthly precipitation outlook, drying out a bit across some of the southwest here, Pacific Northwest, portions of Texas on in through Arkansas, Louisiana up there, above average signal a little bit here. And where you don't see any of these above or below, you kind of just at equal chances there. And again, this is for the month of April. This is the drought monitor here, and you can kind of see portions of Kansas, Oklahoma Panhandle are really in some exceptional drought out there. So hopefully we can get a rainy April/May for some of the areas out here and try to exacerbate some of that. Down through Texas, some pretty bad drought conditions ongoing, and you still got some exceptional drought out through eastern Oregon as well. But yeah, another storm system coming next Tuesday. I'll continue to try to do some national updates like this as well, especially as California starts to slow down a bit here. I'm trying to do at least 2 videos a day, but yeah, the nice imagery of that cyclone with that cold air behind it that impacted or brought that tornado outbreak across central portions of the country yesterday. I wish I could have gone out there, but it takes, I've got so much time coming off again. I mentioned this yesterday. I'll be chasing a lot during mid-April on through mid-June here, so I got to kind of pace myself coming up. But yeah, anyway, so we'll check things out tomorrow. We'll see how that system trends across some of the central portions of the country. We'll check out any other significant weather around the rest of the country as well. We'll watch that California weather coming up here because it's definitely going to warm up, and that snowpack is going to get tested here, folks. There's already flooding concerns with it. There's already flooding going on because there's so much water running off the mountains there, that this is likely to be, not a good scenario here coming up. And we'll go into more detail as we come up through the next few days for the state of California out there. But anyway, hope you guys are having a good day. Hope you guys are liking these videos. Click like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.